let's stitch in the ditch. It is exactly what it sounds like. You've got the ditch here where you folded over the binding. And we're going to try as best we can, we're going to go slow to stitch not in the binding itself, but right along the edge. So I'm going to line it up with the 1/4 inch line on my presser foot. This is just a basic presser foot. And when I put my needle down, I can see that it is right in the ditch, not on the binding. And I'm just going to sew to the corner. Okay, when I get to the corner, I'll take these clips off now. The glue basting is holding that down pretty well. And I'm going to stitch, still in the ditch here, right to the corner, and then go right along that 90-degree angle, which is going to pick up the glue basted binding on the back. I'm stopping right on the corner. I've got my needle in the down position. If yours is up, go ahead and put your needle down. So with my needle in the down position, I can now turn my quilt to sew down this side and it stays in position. Presser foot down, starting very slow to make sure I go in the ditch. Normally you wouldn't cut your thread there, but I'll do that so that I can show you the back. I've got my stitch in the ditch, so you almost don't see it at all. You can see where it is in certain places where I may have veered just ever so slightly out of the ditch. So on the back, you can see that it's completely caught the other side of the binding. In fact, we have even more room than we really need, but for teaching you this, I think it's better to err on the side of more binding to catch. And you can see in the corner, by sticking right within this 90-degree angle, it's created a nice stitch on this side, which is catching both sides of the binding. So it's going to hold that corner down really well. And that's as simple as stitching in the ditch gets. Do your best. And you can see that I started really nicely in the ditch, and then ever so slightly I veered a little bit this way. That's totally fine. We have plenty of room here to be catching the binding on the back, which is the whole goal of machine binding. I also wanted to show you yet another accessory that will really help if you're stitching in the ditch. So if you decide you love quilting and you get more into quilting, check out if your sewing machine not only has a walking foot, which I've shown you in a previous video, but an attachment that you can put on that is actually for stitching in the ditch. So not only is this walking foot putting feed dogs on the top of my layers in addition to the feed dogs that are on the machine, but when you exchange the bottom part, which this part, sorry, I'm holding the phone with one hand and demoing with the other, but this bottom piece is interchangeable with additional accessories. So this is a stitch in the ditch accessory that goes on my walking foot. And it's got this guide that I'm going to put right in the ditch, and the needle is going to sew just a tish over from where this guide is helping me stay in the ditch. Just yet another thing to think about if you really get into quilting and think that you'll be doing a fair amount of stitching in the ditch. This actual bottom piece that I just purchased to show you the stitch in the ditch accessory. It was $19 at my local quilt shop. If you start to quilt a lot, it really will speed up the process and might be worth the investment, but you do not need it. I just wanted to show you that it's almost endless how many notions and accessories you can buy. So let me show you that in action. I've got my walking foot on my machine. I've replaced the basic foot with a stitch in the ditch foot. It's got a guide that's sitting right in the ditch, and the needle is ever so slightly stitching to the left of that guardrail. So everything goes really smoothly. Let me show you. It's a perfectly nice and straight line right in the ditch. I'm just inspiring you with all the possibilities to make your quilting life easier and more delightful if in fact you really get into quilting and can invest in things like this. Even the most basic sewing machine with a basic foot can accomplish amazing quilting results. Please don't ever feel like the notions that you see, none of that is necessary to enjoy and love and create beautiful work with your sewing machine. You do you, and know that whatever you have is wonderful, and the art of creating quilts is in your hands.